Welcome to Climate Tech Buzz, where we interview leaders, founders, and experts in the climate tech space and learn ways to grow and scale climate tech companies. Today's topic of discussion is about storytelling, in particular, positioning your brand and your message through visual communication. I think we've all acknowledged that storytelling is of utmost importance, but climate companies have really struggled to do it well. And it's leading to a lot of similar language and images that lack distinction. Unfortunately, we're at a point where we really need climate solutions to succeed and reach their intended audience. So I am particularly excited for our guest today, Anna Korlath, the Good Illustrator, as she is known, to shed some light on the visual aspect of communicating climate solutions. Anna, we are so excited to have you here today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
Wonderful. Let's dive right into it. So, Anna she's a visual storyteller for urban visionaries and sustainable city advocates. And her work is all about driving her audience to action through the use of visual storytelling. And with compelling visuals, she believes we can ignite change one idea at a time. So, Anna, first of all, we'd love to know a little bit about you and, what draws you to the built environment, particularly. Why make that your area of focus?
Well, in my climate journey, I was searching for kind of my specialization in this huge space where now there is a lot of movement happening and a lot of action, which is great. But I searched for something that's really important to me, and as I'm a city person through and through, I grew up in Vienna, and it's the most beautiful city ever. I wanted to just make cities more livable again and less being it's such an overwhelm sometimes to be in cities now. And yeah, I thought to just use my skills to make the space that I want to live in a great space to live in.
Yeah, well, I have to visit Vienna now, but yeah, the built environment. That's I feel like it's one of it's first of all a huge source of carbon emissions, and also it's it's a part of nature. It's a part of them, and we're not separate from it. So I think it's a space that needs a lot of great minds working on it fast. So we're
Yeah,
glad
but
to have you
I
talk
also
there.
think that it has like a lot of potential because this is a very sustainable way to live if done right. So I think we can improve it so much.
Absolutely. So, what's been your observations on how climate companies, especially climate tech, have been approaching their visual communication? Now, there's definitely been an excessive use of the color green and plants.
Yeah, and the planet and all of that wonderful stock illustrations and
Right.
photos. And that's not only in the climate space. I mean, it's been a huge trend in all industries, I think. But as a space where we really want to make a change and creating a world that's really sustainable, it's important to have honest communication about the whole subject. So we should really avoid having all those cliches in the visual communication. And I think now there is a little bit of a trend already going away from those cliche images that have been overused at this time. Um, but I think there is a lot of going with the trends, which could be sometimes a little bit boring, or for companies, especially for new companies or smaller companies, you really don't want to go with trends. You really want to go with your personality, and that's um, one very important aspect, I think, in the visual communication, that it should be really about showing the personality, the vision of a company, and not so much trends and cliches.
Yeah, absolutely. I think emotions have a lot to do with the decision making. And tell us a little bit more about the stock images. I know I remember you doing a post about this, and there's some things to avoid around, sticking to stock design.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you already said, it's been overused in a lot of in any communications, and the problem is really that people are making being similar to all the other companies in this space in the end. So people should really move away from using stock images or illustrations in the design process, and maybe work more with like real numbers that they have, or real outcomes, results, that also ensures that you're not greenwashing and not fearing of greenwashing.
Yeah.
Because then, like, it's not just following a trend, it's really what you achieved with the work that you did, and just showing this is already a huge um, strategy to avoid being overseen or being similar to all the other visual communicators out there.
Right. Yeah. And it's tricky, right? Because most climate focused companies have a similar mission in a sense. And maybe that's why the visuals we're seeing tend to be broad and lofty. I think this is where understanding your ideal customer profile really, really matters. So you can get specific, like you were telling about the numbers and things like that. How might visual storytelling help deliver more targeted messages for a climate company while maintaining kind of the sense of a higher purpose?
Well, I think seeing my past clients, none of them had a okay. Maybe the overall idea of doing good for the planet was very similar, but it in the end, the mission or the vision statement were very different. They had very different focuses on different themes of the whole sustainability climate space. So I think we can already start from there, doing very different visual communication, and then of course having an ideal customer, the idea of the ideal customer clear in mind, helps with making even more unique visual storytelling. I think those two aspects have to work together to create this really unique visual storytelling that can be recognized in between all the different companies that are out there in the market. So I think that translating your vision, your very personal vision, and then also looking on what your ideal customer wants is the base of every visual storytelling.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's tricky because illustrations and visuals tend to be an afterthought sometimes. I'm guilty of it as a marketer too. And I think people we over rotate on the messaging for sure, but messaging is a strong foundation for visuals. But just like a good story, the illustrations need to pull through all the channels you use as a company. And perhaps when people recognize a need for illustration, it's, oh, I need a hero image for a website, or I need a LinkedIn image. So how can you guide companies in maintaining more consistency and have that visual storytelling really be part of that process better and pull through all aspects of the storytelling?
Well, I think the whole marketing subject is for many companies an afterthought. Like they look at the product first, which is of course very important, and then they go with how can we market it, and then of course after that comes the visual storytelling. But I think it's changing a bit. I think it's um, there are big role models of companies. They have a brilliant visual storytelling, and founders and the heads of startups also recognize the need of great visual storytelling. And I think it really, as a project, can really start from, okay, I would like to have an illustration on my website, for example, and then you can go from there. I always listen to the client and see, okay, what's the idea where we can start with the visual storytelling, because like you said, okay, it needs to pull through, but that's a huge project, and you can't just start it like this, you
Yes.
know. So maybe for some companies it's one infographic that really presents or shows the idea of their process, or they have this spectacular vision of the future that they want to have depicted in an illustration. That can be a really great start to start with visual storytelling in the with a visual storytelling strategy. And I think that although it has to be continuous, it has to be also very honest and personal. So I think if people would just start to do more of what feels right for them, the communication would already be more continuous, and it would already fit better together. Because now I think a lot of people think, okay, I'm taking this from this company because I liked it, and then this part from this company, and it doesn't work like that. It really has to be yours. It's exactly like the product that you design. It can't be another person's product, because that won't work. And I think everybody will tell me, yeah, that's right. You can't just take another person's product. But it's exactly the same with marketing and visual storytelling.
I really like that perspective, and I also agree. Like, okay, maybe it is about starting small with a specific need, but continuing to build on that rather than it being an afterthought every single time. So yes, absolutely, to starting small, and especially in a climate tech startup, that sometimes there is no choice but to do that. But to be intentional about it
Yeah,
once.
and I think if people want to start, or if people already have the the idea, okay, I want to improve the visual storytelling, or in general the storytelling of my startup, I think you could just, as a little homework, you can practice your storytelling skills. Like, say, okay, next week, every number and all the data that I am working with all day, I'm thinking of a little image that comes to my head, or a little story, or a metaphor, for example. And that's how you build your storytelling skills. That's something that you can do briefly. It doesn't really require a lot of time, because I think it's already in us. It's just not used, that skill.
I like that exercise. I might have to try that too. And so, okay, talking about concrete examples now, I'd love to hear about some of the work you've done or you've seen out in the wild of companies getting the visual aspects of their storytelling right. Are there any companies or initiatives that come to mind or that you have worked on where strong illustrations carried the storytelling?
Well, when I started to prepare for this podcast, I was thinking about examples that I can give that everybody will say, okay, I know that one. And I was like, in the climate space, I must say, there isn't something that everybody knows. It's not like, okay, let's say in the end, I came up with companies not in the climate space like Google or Duolingo or MailChimp. They have great illustrations in their visual storytelling, amazing, and everybody knows them. It's not like somebody wouldn't know what I mean when I say, okay, illustrations for or visual storytelling from Duolingo. Everybody knows they all. So that's kind of the problem that we may be facing, that in the climate space, we really need to improve our visual storytelling. And I urge every founder to have this as a goal, to be this one brand that has this wonderful visual storytelling campaign that really sticks with people. Because that's, I think, how we really make a difference in the end. With all going with the actions, and then like also working with the communication we do, because it's not only doing something good for the planet, you also need to pull new people in to actually make a difference. And those communication campaigns and visual storytelling, they are the key to that. So every founder should have this as a priority, to make a campaign after making a great product, to make a campaign that really sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, I think as a founder, they think, oh, visual storytelling, that sounds like it's a very expensive affair. But there's real ROI behind that, right? I think I remember reading a stat that you had posted about how the brain processes visuals much faster. I can't recall
Yeah,
it. You know what I'm
yeah.
talking
I
about?
mean, in any second, you're taking in thousands of new images, and you can't just block it out. It's not like a paragraph of words that you can just choose to not read.
Right.
So an image will always be seen. You can't just, okay, you can close your eyes, but that's after you've seen the image. So this second, you can definitely use, and that's also the way that visuals can really influence the results of the communication campaign, because it takes a lot more attention than just words, and it will definitely stick. If it's a great image, if it's a great visual, people will not just ignore it.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So that leads us to the very important question of measurement.
Yeah.
You and I know the impact that good visual storytelling can have on a brand and how it influences decision making, but I think it's objectively hard to attribute the role of illustrations to conversions. So how do you overcome this thinking with a prospective client?
Well, I think it's when we are looking to with engagement numbers, for example, it's not that difficult anymore, because, like I said before, visuals always reach the eye. And we see that in conversions in social media campaigns, that it actually brings better numbers and better engagement when you have a great visual that goes with the message that you want to bring. And then another way to get this feedback is to look at the quality and the responses that you get from your audience.
Yeah.
Because maybe going with the stock images that we talked with before, or these cliche images, you wouldn't get the the engagement or the positive responses that you would get with a personalized illustration or visual. or not maybe, it's for sure like that, because you will just be like all the others if you're using the stock images and the cliches. So after those 2 points, I can also suggest to make A/B testing. So go with like a photo that just generally goes into the direction that you want to that your message is in, or you're going with an illustration that really shows your numbers, your data, your product, and you will have data that shows that better visual storytelling will lead to better conversions.
Love that. Yes, yeah, social media engagement for sure. But I liked what you said about the quality of the audience too. If you're really being intentional about your specific target audience, you hopefully see better quality of people coming in and responding too. So I
Yeah,
have
I just had a client that we worked on her illustrations for her website, and I proposed one sketch that had the underlying message of solopreneur being powerless, feeling powerless. And she was instantly like, yeah, wow, I hear that so many times. And that was such a powerful image for her. So you already get the quality of clients or the quality of engagement. It's already another one than just taking any image that could fit the subject.
right, 100%. Okay, Anna, last question for you. So, for companies that do want to engage with a visual communicator like you, what types of projects are ideal up your alley, if you will?
Well, like I already mentioned, social media content is a great way to start your visual storytelling journey, because yeah, you get a lot of engagement. It's very important for community building because you can really create a personal connection. Like I said, it's very important to be authentic, to have personality in there, and with illustrations, you can reach that very easily. So people really get connected with your vision, with the personality of the startup or the company that you want to create. Then, of course, it goes on to website illustrations, or if you are offering talks or webinars, that you have exactly the visuals that you need to tell the message that you want to tell, and not just any message that like 500 other people have. So that those are good ways to start with the visual storytelling journey.
I think that sounds like a plan. Well, Anna, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your knowledge and experience around visual communication. I do hope more climate founders take heed that it's an essential part of the brand building exercise. And like I said, we need them to succeed. So
Yeah,
I hope you're all
definitely.
listening
I
to the
mean,
advice.
it's just it would make my heart so happy if the first campaigns that come to mind, if you think about branding, if you think about messaging, are from the climate space. That would just be the best goal, like the best scenario ever.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Thank you
So
so
do
much,
your
Anna.
best, listeners.
Exactly, exactly. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
For me too. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.